Alright, so I should be live. Let's see if my audio is audible. I'm just waiting to get some feedback from you guys. Hi Christopher, can you hear me? I'm gonna be working on this project, so I'm not really going to pay too much attention to what's going on in the chat. Sound is good? Okay, great. So I'm gonna get started on this. So basically what I did a couple of days ago, I posted this project on my Behance. If you Google me on Fabio Palvelli, you can go to the project page, and at the very bottom you are able to download the model for free. It's a Cinema 4D model which I rendered with Corona, and this video is more supposed to be a general introduction to the model itself. I am planning also in the future to make some more detailed tutorials about how to create, the body, the wheels, and so on and so forth. So I'm just gonna run you through the structure of the project so that you have an idea of how I organize the project. The project is basically divided in two categories of model. You have the model which is not parametric, meaning, it's destructible like the body. And that's because I have, modeled this as a whole and then I mirrored it. All these parts are within a group of its own, like for instance, the front trunk, the windshield, and a lot of other pieces. And then I have a parametric part of the model, which is basically asymmetry. And if I switch it off, you'll see that the model, it's actually only modeled in a half. That's the reason why it's a little bit like bumpy when I rotate around. Anyway, okay, so basically today we are just going to focus on the rendering part. Now, I wanted to achieve a lot by doing the least possible. If you compare this project to the Akira one that I did, here there was a lot of work on the context. Thank God I downloaded these models from Kitbash. I think this is the Future Slums, and I was able, to create a very compelling context for this model. But the model itself, it took me like probably a couple of weeks. I'm not really into like car design, motorcycle design, so it's something that proved to be a challenge. With this model, I spent a little less time. It took me like 3 days to finish this model. And that's because, once I got started on topology and I saw how the topology pen works in Cinema 4D, because bear in mind that I come from the architectural field, so certain things I was simply not interested as, being a designer that does only architectural visualization. But anyway, so let's get to the rendering part. Now, one thing that I'm really excited about when using Corona is the how can I put it? They've optimized a lot of the tasks that in other render engines you need to have an understanding of how rendering works in order to get these functionalities going. Like, the creating materials, creating lights, the options that are available in the lights, and so on and so forth. And when I first started to work with it, coming from V-Ray and having tried also Octane, I was very surprised by the simplicity. Now, of course, I haven't used any of the most advanced features, just maybe some post effects like lens bloom and so on. But I was able to achieve this result, which is, if you ask me, amazing for somebody that has only done 2 tests in Corona. This is my second project. The first project was this one. Very easy, very simple to just jump into the project and get started. So for this project, I'm going to be analyzing the car paint material, which was a little bit tedious, not because it was difficult, but just because I had to figure out a couple of things. It is not perfect yet, but it is, you know, good, I would say. We're gonna talk about this, and then we're going to talk about the material of the lights, because let me just show you the image of the lights. I mean, this has no post-production whatsoever. This is straight from the VFB. The way the glass looks, it's fantastic, especially because I faked everything. Like, you're looking at these lights and they look fairly realistic, but they haven't been modeled with a lot of attention to details. And we're going to talk about this because I think that this is where it gets a lot of fun to work with this tool. So let's talk about the car paint material. So the car paint material is a material that is made of two materials, basically. Let me just see if I can identify it, because I get very lazy when working on these models, since, you know, they don't need to be, I don't need to animate and I don't need to do anything else, you know, it's just for the purpose of creating a picture. There we go. So basically what I did, I created a layered material that contains a material with a normal reflection, and then a material that replicates the effect of the car paint. Okay, I'm getting some notifications there. Never mind. Good, so let's open up both of these materials, and then I'll explain you also how this layered material works, which is extremely simple. It's just that you have to give it a try at first. You know, coming from V-Ray, I was used to have this hierarchy of materials working from top to bottom, but apparently I asked around, I'm not sure if this information is correct, but these materials, they blend according to the blending amount. Anyway, it works. I was able to achieve the effect that I was looking for. So let's take these two materials and let's analyze them. So we'll start with the car paint. The car paint is nothing but a black diffuse material with a reflection. I played a little bit with the IOR value of the reflection itself. And then I used this bitmap for the glossiness value. This is a something that I found in a tutorial looking on the internet. Did my own version for this very tutorial. There we go. So these are basically just little flakes. It's a scattered element scattered across the surface. I made this map available, so you know you can use it. You can do whatever you want with it. The thing is that what I did is that I wanted to kind of create a little bit of bluish reflection, bluish color in the reflection, also, and not only in the glossiness itself. So I kind of mixed them up, and I really like this about Corona, is that you have the possibility of using like shaders that allow you to manipulate the bitmap inside the render, just like in V-Ray. I will mention V-Ray a lot because, as you know, I come from V-Ray. I worked with it for a very long time, and it's fun to see the similarities, and also the fact that, you know, the companies are working together to achieve better products. So there you go. Let me just double click. So here what I did, I basically reduced the saturation using a Corona output. Now, if you're not very familiar with all these terms, basically the Corona output, I believe it's, I don't know how to call it. It's a shader, Corona shader. How do you access those? Okay, so let's say I'll go to opacity just to pick an empty slot. And if you go into texture, you have the possibility down here to say Corona, and you can choose between a Corona bitmap and Corona output. Now, I'm not really sure 100% what the differences are. The bitmap is basically, I'm guessing, like a V-Ray advanced shader. So you have the possibility here to put a bitmap, and then you can control the UV tiling, the crop and placement, channel outputs. These are things that I haven't been digging in through too much, but I will do some experiments and maybe also ask the guys at Corona to understand a little bit more what happens when I change these parameters, because of course it's always good. Okay, so I'll just undo the opacity. And so basically, if you look at this, let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Maybe I can also export it into a window. Let me see if this works. This never works. This has to do with my computer. Oh, there it is. It's working. Very good. So as you can see here, I only have this fake effect of like flakes. Obviously they're too big, but I'm going to sort this out later when I'll texture the model. But as you can see, you know, the whole material is very flat, and in theory these flakes would be below one layer of clear coat. And the way I did that, the way I created the clear coat, I did it with another material, which is the car coat. And the car coat is nothing but a black diffuse material with a reflection layer of 1.6. 1.6, it's usually a value that I find myself very often working with. Glossiness, even if you want to have something super glossy, I personally always recommend never to go above 0.9, because in reality there is no material that it's 100% glossy. In theory, not even mirrors are 100% glossy. But anyway, this was just a look that I achieved by trial and error. So what I did, I took both these materials, the car coat and the car paint, and I dropped them inside this layer material. The layer material allows you to put all the materials that you want. You can put maybe even this material here, and then you can tell it, you know, I want to have 0.3% of this material, and then you'll see it appearing. There you go. I'm just gonna delete this, clear, and we don't have anything anymore. Good. So what I did, since I'm very, very lazy, lazier than you think, I organized this model in such a way that, you know, each single part that I had its own specific material was already textured. And then I took this layer material, which probably I should rename like car final material that looks good, like really good. And that's what I call it. And then I just dropped it on top of the car. And since I'm extremely lazy, I projected it with a cubic projection. So if I select these, and these, you'll see that my material is extremely small. It's this tiny little cube over here. And that is because it allows me, you know, to have these reflections and these flakes being really, really small. Where is my model? There we go. Okay, I'm just gonna take a little break just to check if everything is okay from the YouTube side, because I don't want this to be... Hi guys, hey, how's it going? Okay, good, so everything is working. I go back to my modeling. Perfect. Now, the other thing that I want to show you, which to me was the funniest part, was working with the lights and with the glass. Now, this is not very difficult to achieve even in other tools, but with Corona it was exceptionally delightful. Did I say that right? Does that make sense? Okay, let's take a look and let's see why I liked it so much. Usually, when you make a material, the idea of making a material is that if you understand the basic concept of how a material works from a physical standpoint, you know that there are basically two main materials available out there, conductive materials and non-conductive materials. Now, the conductive materials are those materials, you know, like metal, for instance, which basically, how can I put it? The visual characteristics of these materials appear in the what do you call it? In the reflection tab. Does that make sense? I think I explained it extremely wrong. I'm sorry. It's the pressure of the light. Okay, let's make a material from scratch. Material. There we go. So you have two types of materials: conductive materials and non-conductive materials. A non-conductive material, the appearance of the non-conductive material will rely mainly on the diffuse value of the material itself. So say I have a material like wood, the main appearance of this material will rely on the diffuse tab, meaning if I go and change the color of this material, this will be the main thing, the main factor determining the look of the material. If I go to say a material like metal, the main appearance will rely mainly on the reflection value. So let's create a metal material. Let's change the IOR to something like 22. Now, in theory, a material like a metal will have no color, meaning that the absorption of the the color itself of the material will be something like black. Whoops, did that wrong. Diffuse. There we go. Whilst if we want to change the color itself, we would have to do this inside the reflection tab. So if I go and change this to red, you'll see that now this material gets red. Okay. Now, what I find extremely fun to work with in Corona is the fact that you can pretty much control the properties of material working directly in the, for instance, translucency tab and refraction tab in a much more direct way. And this I would have to make a video of comparison with other tools to explain that better. But I'm just gonna do it so that you have an idea. Okay, so let's take the material that I've created for the front light. So what I did here, I said, okay, this is going to be a material that is going to be translucent. It's going to be also, you know, plasticky. So there will be these so what do you call it? Surface subscatter effect in it. There will be some reflection. There will be some refraction. So how do I manage all these data without really knowing what the value of this is? So what I did, I started to take the JPEG itself of the light, and I started to drop it inside the tabs, the according tabs. So I did that for the diffuse, I did that for the reflection, and I even did that for the refraction. And I say, let me just play around and let's see what happens when I do that. Actually, the result, with a little bit of tweaking, was surprisingly positive. You know, it was very. I was very surprised when I saw the result, because I could not think that it would be as simple as doing that, you know? The only thing that I kind of tested with was the translucency itself, because the translucency, I'm guessing it's a floating value like, you know, in all other renders. So I played just with the amount of like white and black, and that's all. Then in the bump, I created a separate displace bump map, which I also used in the displacement. All these maps will be available in the file that you can download. The only challenge that I had to overcome was the fact that, you know, I never really modeled the car, so I don't really know what was going on inside the light. And the only thing that I had to do, let me see, Fanale Ruos, I used all Napolitan names to call these elements. What I had to do, I had to create some sort of like reflection element in which the light could have bounced inside, you see? So this element, for instance, is made of a very reflective metal, whilst the light in the front is made of a glass material. And if you look at the glass material, it's basically, it's the same concept. I took a picture of a light. I can even show it to you. There you go, that's the one. The only thing that I did to this picture was creating a bump map using like the picture as a pattern underneath and then some vertical lines. And that was it. So let me undo a little bit. And then what I did, let me unhide all this. I was looking for like some lights to put inside the light itself, and I found out that, you know, Corona has already some round lights. All you have to do is go to Corona light and change the type from rectangle to circle. And there you go. You got a light that looks like the light of a car. The only thing that I did here was, you know, in order to simulate a little bit the lights of a car, because again, you know, I'm not a car designer. What I did in front of the light itself, let me see if I can hide this element. Oops, sorry, I put it inside the lights. There you go. So if I hide it, where are they? So basically what I did, I put some discs in front of the lights. Okay, here they're hidden. I don't know where they are. Basically putting discs in front of the lights, it kind of gives this, you know, LED look to the light itself. Let me unhide everything. Now, I want to show you live when I go and render it. Let me see. There you go. Are the lights switched on? It'll take a minute. And there you go. Now, bear in mind that I should consider myself a beginner in Corona because this is really the second project that I'm doing with it. I will spend a little bit more time after I come back from Greece because tomorrow I'm going to Greece to teach a workshop, which will be done together with the guys from Design Morphine. When I'll come back, I will spend a little bit more time. I'll also try to talk a little bit more to Marcin and Thomas, the guys from Corona, super nice guys, to kind of get a little bit more insider tips. And I also want to spend a little bit more time working on some more specific tutorials, maybe even more like focus tutorials on how to, you know, create the wheel, maybe some tutorials on how to create a good framing for the renders and all that kind of stuff, because these are questions that you guys have already asked me. So I thought, you know, since for those of you who know me and follow my channel, you know that I focus 90% of my stuff on the business side of design. But when there are such fun tools to work with, it's nice, you know, to share a little bit the knowledge and to get the conversation going also from this point of view. Okay, I don't think I need to talk about anything else. I mean, this is really so simple. You know, there are no settings, there is nothing really to talk about. All the knowledge on how to create a camera and how to create a light, it's pretty straightforward. The internet is full of this. maybe my focus in the future will be on more specific tasks, such as you know, how to create the perfect frame, how to manage materials in such a way that you get the outcome that you're really looking for. Because a lot of people, you know, they focus on realism, but our job is not to create necessarily realism, but is to create an idyllic version of realism. Of course, unless you're trying to be hyper realistic and that's your only goal, but you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to my YouTube to see if there are any questions, or if you have any questions, guys, this is the time for you to ask. Okay, no, I don't think there are any questions. Nobody wants to talk to me? No? No questions for Fabio? Wait, let me see if I can put also my camera so that you can look at me, because there should be my camera somewhere. Is it? No? Okay, never mind. So no questions? Okay, so I think I'm gonna stop this quick tutorial, you wanna call it? Is it a tutorial? I don't know. But anyway, I look forward to oh, you got here too late. Eric, it's okay. No worries. Next time. Who from Corona is here? Say your name. Is it Adam? Hey, Adam. Okay, great. So I'll just, you know, finish this with this video. Next week when I come back, I'll try to focus more on some more specific. Hey, Tom, what's going on? More specific content. I'm really enjoying working with Corona. I'm doing some other stuff also with other tools, which I really cannot wait to share with you guys. Thanks a lot for watching, as always. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button, because I love when people subscribe. Hit the like button, because I'm a very nice guy. And I will see you next week. Cheers! Bye-bye! Bye!